This question is about an affair. This person's having an affair and wants to know how to actually get this person as their specific person, not just the person they're having an affair with. If you've got a similar situation or you've got a situation where you don't feel prioritized, this question will be for you. Welcome to Ask Loz, the video series where I answer your manifestation questions. Now, why the fuck would you ask Loz? Well, I have a TikTok and a YouTube and have had for almost 2 years now where I get the most success I've ever seen from any manifestation coach ever. And I'm not just bragging, that's true. If you go to our Facebook group, you'll see that I teach differently. And the reason we get so much goddamn success in my group is because I actually teach proper manifestation, which is changing you to change the situation you're in. If you're not being taught that, you're being taught wrong, and that's why you're probably coming to me for a question, because everything you've been taught has confused you. If you want a specific person back and you've been told to change them, focus on him, her, SP affirmations, visualize him. Wrong. Guys, you have to change you to change them. I focus on self-concept to manifest what you want, because everything is from within, so without. Everything that's out here is a reflection of you. So if you're listening to anyone, any manifestation coach or any coach at all who's telling you to change other people, change your outside circumstances, focus on the outside, they're wrong. And that's why they don't get the same level of success that we do. Last year, we had 3 engagements and 1 marriage in 1 month. I've never seen that before. The reason why we get that is because I teach you properly. I teach you to change your circumstances. The focus is completely and solely on you, what you dominantly assume in the back of your mind, your subconscious thought, and that's what you need to change your reality, because that's currently causing your reality. If you don't realize you are causing your current reality, you're currently already manifesting, and you're coming to me saying, I'm starting to manifest, or I'm learning to manifest, or I've been manifesting. No, you haven't. You've been manifesting all the fucking time. Now you're just doing it consciously. And if people aren't teaching you that, they're teaching you wrong. And that's why people ask me questions. They've been asking me questions for the past 2 years on TikTok. I've been going live every single day almost for 2 years. I've cut down a lot recently because I'm so busy, because now I have courses and coaching and a whole lot of stuff. But I used to go live every day, and when I did, I would give people the answer. Sometimes they didn't want to hear. The answer was, you have to change you. If you're not prepared to change you guys, nothing will fucking change. Sometimes you'll get them back. Sometimes you'll get a bit of movement, and then you'll lose what you manifested because you haven't changed you, and you'll reflect out the old shitty thinking you've always had, and you'll lose your specific person, the money, whatever. That's why I started this account. I listened to people who taught me to change out here, to change the person. And guess what? It didn't fucking work. Okay? If you want to change your circumstances for good, if you want your specific person back for good, ask me an Ask Loz question, and I will reply with a reply video like this the following week on YouTube. So let's jump to our first question this week, who's from an anonymous asker, and most of these will be anonymous, guys. If you want to be anonymous too and ask me a question, you absolutely can. So, what affirmations will help with an affair situation? Both married, but I want him to want me and only me. Now, I think the clue is in the question there of what she said, only me. But I'll jump forward to a bit more detail that she gave me. We're both married. Neither of us are ready to leave our unhappy situations. I call bullshit on that bit of information, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I know this may seem selfish, but I want to remove blocks to live in the end. And how do I, when we are both across the US from one another and only see each other once a month or less? Fear of abandonment present and not chosen. Okay, so let me just explain something about an affair situation, or an affair, or a situation where the person's already taken. When you choose somebody, and it's whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, you might meet somebody and they are already taken, you didn't know, or you meet somebody and you know they've got a girlfriend and you know they're married and you still choose them. That's a whole lot of I'm not chosen thinking, or I'm not prioritized thinking, or I don't get what I want thinking, or I'm not enough and other people are better than me. Like, you compare yourself a lot to other women and there's always third parties in your reality. Either way, it's you thinking certain things about you that then get reflected in your choices of mate. And you'll actually find those people in a room. You will literally seek out, your brain will find the one married guy in the room. So if you have a pattern of people who don't choose you, or a pattern of people who are already taken, you're the pattern. It's not any coincidence, because there are no coincidences, that you keep finding people who are taken. you're doing that. Your mind is literally seeking out confirmation of what you already believe to be true about yourself. I'm not chosen. I'm not good enough. I'm not prioritized, or things never work out for me. Any of those things. And then you'll literally find a married guy in a room, and when you find out they're married, you'll stay. Now, why do people stay? Why don't people get out at that point? Because it's confirmation of what you already feel. To have someone fully available to you, loving you, being there for you, giving you all the love in the world would feel a bit foreign to a person who doesn't feel chosen. And so they'll purposely pick a person who won't choose them, has a third party or a girlfriend or a wife, or it can even be a situation where they're addicted to drugs or alcohol or their job. They're not being prioritized, and they're not the chosen person in the situation. And it confirms everything you already feel and think about yourself, and it feels familiar. Familiarity, guys, is how you end up in these situations, because your subconscious mind believes that to be you, to be true about you. That's your concept of self, your self-concept. And if you don't change that, nothing will fucking change. And this person can say SP, specific person affirmations, all they like, and sit around all day long visualizing about this person. But if they essentially don't feel chosen enough, this person will never choose them, because they're reflecting them out. And all their specific person can do, whether they visualize or not, whether they say SP affirmations or not, is reflect them back to them. And that's how they got themselves in an affair in the first place. So normally when I ask people these questions, I ask them a bit about their childhood. Now, a lot of you won't like that. A lot of you won't want to discuss your childhood, but hey, I'm different, and I get the results I do because I delve into people's childhood, because unfortunately from the age of 0 to 7, that maketh the man. You have a fully formed subconscious by the age of 7, and by the age of 7, you're fucked. So whatever happened before then, whatever you experienced, saw, felt, forms the you are. And from then on, that's your subconscious thought. And then it reflects out to everyone else. So if I don't find out about your childhood, it's very hard for me to analyze what's going on. Although I do. I've always done in YouTube lives and TikTok lives, just analyze the question. And I can actually tell half the time from your question or your situation what your childhood was like, because it's the same situation, different person every goddamn time. Okay? I'm not saying everyone's cookie cutter, but there's certain childhoods that produce certain results in people in adulthood. And I've seen it now for 2 years. So trust me when I say there are certain fears that everyone has, and if you've done my self-concept course, you'll know there are 4 specific fears that everyone holds, and you'll either have all 4, 1, 2, or 3 of them very dominantly in your mind, and they dictate the way your reality shows up. And this particular person has done my self-concept course, and she found out her dominant fear was, you will hurt me and you will leave me, okay? And the hurt me one is the most dominant. And that's very interesting. Mostly people who have that one have actually been abused in their childhood or had some kind of hurt occur. So it's interesting that her dominant assumption is that the person will hurt them before anything even occurs. So sometimes if you have a dominant assumption that you'll leave me, you will hurt me, you'll actually do that thing where you choose someone who's going to hurt you or leave you anyway, because you're anticipating that's going to happen. And who's the person who could hurt you the most or leave you the quickest? Probably a person who's in an affair situation who can't choose you. And so her fear has dictated who she chooses. Then she's in a situation that stayed the same and hasn't changed because she hasn't changed, and essentially that person won't change until she does. They're not changing, guys. They're reflecting. They're reflecting you. And a lot of people don't teach you this. And that's why so many of you are so goddamn confused, because you think you're waving wands like these people are puppets out here. Your specific person is some kind of robot and they're going to regurgitate your affirmations. No, guys, please get this. They're reflecting you. If they regurgitate an affirmation, it's because you telepathically put those thoughts into their mind and they telepathically receive them. They start thinking them as those thoughts. They start acting upon them, and then they reflect back to you what you thought. That's how manifestation works. That's how you manifested this whole situation. That's how you manifest breakups. That's how you manifest fights. That's how you manifest everything that fucking happens to you up to now. And you guys think you're manifesting starting now. No. You've always been manifesting. You are the only cause. So how did this particular person cause this situation, and how is she going to get herself out of it to get what she wants? Let's delve. She told me, I grew up with both parents and a younger brother. My parents were both very caring and were married up until my dad passed away a couple of years ago from blood cancer. So abandonment like that when you're an adult doesn't normally affect you as badly. It's when you're a child. Both parents were always around, so far sounds great. However, my dad did have a short affair that I remember. Let's remember that part. They were married for 40 years when my dad passed. They weren't super strict, and they also weren't naive. So most people come to me sounding like they've had really rosy childhoods that are really, really great. But you can have one little niggling thing like, I don't know, an affair happen in your childhood, and you can watch your mum, I don't know, sneaking around looking in purses for receipts, or checking your dad's phone, or picking up the phone receiver if you're as old as me when we didn't have mobile phones, and listening to see who they're talking to. Sneaky behavior like that can make you think that men can't be trusted, if it's a man we're talking about here having an affair. And it will plant the seed in your mind as a child, or you might have discovered the affair if you're a child, that men can't be trusted. And therefore, you'll actually meet men in your reality later on as an adult who can't be trusted, or who have affairs, or who are unfaithful, because that little idea was planted in your mind as a child that men are unfaithful, or men can't be trusted, or men do this, or this is what love looks like. Or you put up with affairs and you stay with them. Now, I'm not judging the person for staying with their husband or the person for having an affair. I'm just saying if you watched that as a child and you experienced it as a child, you'll think maybe affairs are normal, or you'll think affairs are what happen in relationships. But most of the time, it's also what the person feels about themselves. And I suspect this person has a dominant thing about abandonment, or feeling like the person might leave or might hurt them based on something that happened in childhood. So if this particular person, I don't know, experienced their parents fighting about the affair and heard arguments about the affair, and one of the parents threatened to leave, then it might plant the seed in your mind that someone always leaves, or someone might leave, or might hurt the other person, okay? Hurt as in leave them and hurt them. And therefore, the dominant assumption about relationships is people get hurt in relationships, or people leave. So in this situation, because she wasn't actually technically left in any kind of way as a child, it could be the abandonment issue connected to an affair, okay, which has planted the seed in her mind, this is what relationships look like. But it could also be a situation where she just essentially doesn't feel good enough in herself, like she didn't feel great in her marriage, and that's why she's deeply unhappy at the moment, and has chosen someone who makes her feel good, and that person built her up, made her feel good, and that's how she got herself in this affair situation where she's now in love with this person, but doesn't feel good enough to actually be chosen by that person. Now, what you've got to understand is, guys, when I said to you at the beginning, let's come back to this, but I want him to want me and only me. Why do you think I said that? It's because her dominant assumption is in the question. The dominant assumption that's fucking her up. And what do you think that is? That he doesn't want her, he wants his wife. Because it's in the question. I want him to want me and only me. So her dominant assumption at the moment is he wants her too, or he won't leave her, or she's the problem. And therefore, he won't leave until she changes that dominant assumption. If she had the dominant assumption that it's her he wants and no one else, and there's no threat to her in her reality, and the third party doesn't even exist, he would have left the third party by now. But she's got a dominant assumption that she's not wanted, and then she's given me this bullshit answer, where I said bullshit, that we're both married, neither of us are ready to leave our unhappy situations. I don't believe that for a second. I believe what's happened is he's long distance, and because he hasn't actually left the other person, she won't leave her person until he leaves his person. And because she's fearing that she's going to get hurt and be left alone, she won't leave hers until he leaves his, but she deep down doesn't believe he's going to leave his, so then she's stuck. So what she needs to do is believe he's going to leave his person and be with her, and then they'll be together wherever that's going to be, either in the town she lives in or the city he lives in. You understand this, guys? So she's keeping herself in an unhappy situation purely because she believes this person won't leave, because deep down she doesn't feel good enough to be chosen by him, and that's how she got herself in an affair situation in the first place, because essentially she doesn't feel chosen or enough. That's how she got herself in an affair, and that's why he won't leave. Got it? And yes, she could have an unhappy situation and have children and therefore feel scared about leaving, blah, 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 but I don't essentially think that's the truth of the story here. I think the truth of the story is she doesn't actually believe he's going to leave his person until at such time as he does, she won't. Got it? And if you've got a fear of abandonment, you won't leave until maybe sometimes you've got someone else to go to. Okay? So what this person needs to actually do to change this situation is to work on her abandonment fears, and her fears of not being good enough, and her fears that she's going to get hurt. She needs to step into the reality of a person who is chosen by him, visualize being with him, but really the most important thing is to start working on her, feeling enough and wanted and chosen. And she can say affirmations like, I am the chosen one, no one compares to me. He could meet 1 million girls and no one compares to me. No one knows him like me, gets him like me. I'm his chosen person because I'm, and then a whole lot of self-concept affirmations about herself. Because I'm kind and special and loving and giving and beautiful and I have a great ass and great this, great that. If you can back your self-concept stuff up with things you can actually believe right now about yourself, any compliments you've ever received by anybody or things you know to be true about you, that will help you to believe that you will be chosen and chosen by this particular person. Okay, so this person needs to really step away from the old story she's got about herself and him and relationships, that men will hurt you, that affairs maybe might be normal, that people get cheated on. That's a surreptitious back here hidden fear that she might not realize she's actually thinking about relationships. And also that she is the chosen person, and to really, really work on feeling chosen and enough in herself first. Then she can focus on feeling chosen by him and imagine the situation where they're both together. It doesn't matter how that comes about, whether he moves here, she moves here, he leaves her, he leaves him. However it happens, it doesn't matter. That's the middle. Go right to the end of being together and being the chosen one. That's the most important thing here. All right, so I hope I've answered that anonymous person's question. If you're in that kind of situation, guys, and you would like to ask me your specific question, you can ask Loz anytime. Click the link in the description or in the comments to ask Loz. You put your question in a form, followed by a bit more information, followed by a little bit of information about your childhood. And if you've done my self-concept course, Call to Kick Ass You, you can tell me which one of the 4 fears applied to you, so you can give me a bit more information, because that assessment always helps me to tell you a bit more about you and what your dominant fears actually are. So guys, you can ask Loz anytime, and there's also the pre-sale of my love course, Worthy as Fuck for Love, out now, where you'll get $200 off. It's the most conclusive love course you'll ever do in your whole life, and in that course there's also a love mode assessment, which not only tells you about your self-concept in love, but your love mode, the way you react, the way you turn up in love, and the situations you keep perpetuating and how to change them. So thanks so much for joining me. You can ask Loz anytime by clicking the link and booking your reply video from me, and it will be on YouTube the following week. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.